To our subscribers, dun 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 dun. To our non-subscribers, I cannot do an inverted show pass.
I only know so many moves, so I gotta get creative.
Oh, no, no, no. Now, dun 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 dun. Does that make sense? Guys, this thing was in pieces. It was one of the worst crashes, but also somehow one of the best crashes I've ever had. Usually on a crash that hard, that straight into the ground, you're gonna strip a servo, you're gonna bend a prop shaft, something bad is going to happen. I did damage my battery. It got crunched in a little bit, and I didn't think that was the case. I snapped one servo arm that I have replaced. This is now slightly in a more sensitive, further out position, so we'll see how that goes. But if you look closely, you can see my hot glue repair job. This entire center was just dangling out of here. That's pretty rough. That looks bad, because it is bad.
How'd your prop not break?
I don't know. This is probably the most reconstructing I've had to do on a foam airplane ever. The entire rear half of my fuselage was snapped.
Can't even see the line.
It's very hard to see, isn't it? Except for my very sloppy, quickly done. This was probably an hour and a half or so job. So, and I think two short hot glue sticks, which is probably about $1 worth of hot glue. I put my money where my mouth is, and I encourage you guys all the time, even when you think all is lost and you've crashed your plane, what you believe to be beyond repair, do not lose hope, because even something a bit more intricate, a very sporty flyer flying on 4S power, I believe we're going to be able to get this back in the air. I've tested everything at home, but this is going to be a true re-maiden, and I can't tell you how excited I am to test this with all of you. So let's see if it can hold up to my repair job. Let's fly. Now guys, it's vitally important, and this might seem a little bit lame. I know you just want me to rocket this in the air, but this is very important for me to talk to you about this. You want to do all of your control surface checks before flight, and one thing you're going to listen for and look for is if you push the stick all the way over but it gets hung up halfway there, that means there's a jam in the gear and the servo. You might listen for servo grinding, so let's listen. It all looks and sounds really good. Let's check flaps. That's great. So that's the first thing you want to do before you ever put something back in the air. Listen for resistances or different sounds. Next, before we put it in the air, we want to do basically a full throttle power test on the ground. So one of the safest ways to do that is to get behind the airplane. If something is going to shoot off, it should go forward or out. So I'm going to get in position. You can either do this and then let your feet hold it in place, or if you feel a bit better, you can get down like this and just kind of hold it. This is a smaller airplane though, so either way will work just fine. Let's give it a throttle test. That was full throttle and it sounded really good. No vibrations, nothing wobbling. I think we're clear for takeoff. So let's go. Now also be prepared for retrimming your airplane. If you're flying in safe, it may not need much, but I'm going to be flying out of safe, and visually it looks fine, but it's probably going to need trimmed back up after a crash like that. Yeah, I'm definitely climbing more than I was. I've got a little bit of up in there, but actually quite a bit, so let's trim that down. Quite a bit. That's going to be something that I want to actually make a physical adjustment on the ground. My prop sounds slightly louder than what it used to sound like. Let's see, a little bit more trimmed down. And I'm only cruising at about half throttle because I want to make sure all my parts are going to stay in one piece in the air. I don't want to push this too hard yet, especially getting it trimmed up. So still climbing a bit. Very interesting on that climb. Just getting a feel for it. We'll go for a bit of a roll here just for fun, giving it some extreme control surface. That's kind of a safer maneuver. A more aggressive maneuver is actually just going to be with that elevator, because that's going to put some G-forces on the back of the airplane too. So let's go for a nice loop. That actually puts a lot of strain on most airplanes when you do an aggressive loop. And a snap will be probably the most aggressive thing we want to do right now on this. and then also a nice full throttle pass, but not just yet. I'm really happy, by the way. I've pushed for this.
You know what everybody wants to see.
Full throttle pass and then an inverted
show pass.
Show pass. I'm not doing that on this flight. I've got to work out. I've never done an inverted show pass, but I've got the airplane back in the air. Here's full throttle pass, full throttle. Right into going to maintain full throttle through this because I want to kind of push the airplane to make sure it's safe. Continuing full throttle into a big snap up here. And Abby, we were doing an inverted recovery out of our
which was really cool.
Snaps. So we'll do that. That was a new maneuver we were doing. Now I don't know that I can pull off an inverted show pass. Jiminy's. A little bit higher this time, okay?
Just don't give it, you gotta give it reverse elevator.
Okay, so let me think about this. Let me think. I got this. Okay, think. Okay.
It kills his brain.
It does, yeah. It's hard to wrap your head around a new maneuver. Okay, I'm just climbing too much because now I'm a wimp when it comes to this. I can't do it! Okay, I've never done this before.
Yes!
Okay, that's an inverted show pass,
and
but only on the inside of that maneuver, okay? So some blade of grass over there got to see a nice inverted show pass. We'll do a regular show pass real fast and get blinded by the sun because I don't want this whole video to be an attempted maneuver that I don't know how to do. But there you go, there's basically a knife edge.
You know, you've done that before. You've done videos on attempted maneuvers that you don't know how to do.
We're gonna do a nice inverted Cuban 8, maybe? I don't know if I've ever done that before. There we go. Very awesome airplane, guys. Continues to be my favorite thing to fly. We'll do a nice 4-point loop here. We know it can handle a full throttle slam into the ground and continue flying as long as you have the patience to put it back together. That's not a bad little loop, is it? Up. This is just a super fun airplane to fly. Oh, I'm so happy. You guys, all you need is that hot glue and you can get your airplane back in the air. Most of the time. I mean, I got lucky that my prop shaft wasn't bent. That was a straight slam into the ground. There's other things that can go wrong too. Stripping a servo, I can't believe that didn't happen.
I mean, goes to show you how good of a plane it is, right?
Yeah, sorry about the close pass. That sun ended up blinding me. This, you know, this like late summer flying, the sun is just in a very rough spot for this runway. And it's really
very nice.
That beep that you heard was just my radio. I really need to turn that off. When I get down to 30%, I believe, 30% throttle. Listen, there's up above 30, below 30, above 30, below 30.
It just lets you know where you're at.
Yeah, so it kind of is like a audio reminder that, hey, you're down at 0 throttle now.
That was his 5-minute timer.
Yeah, thank you. Flies nice and slow and scale if you want it to. There's a nice rudder turn. Just a super awesome airplane, and it's flying, honestly, it's flying really just as good as before the crash. I had to trim it up a little bit, but
just maybe a little louder.
It is a touch louder. That prop is totally fine. That was a fun tumble. The prop is fine, but it could, I'm sure that my prop shaft is just slightly bent, and I did get the low voltage indicator, so what we're gonna do is flap on, climb it, get a little bit of a snap up here maybe, and then see what we can do for a fun landing. Zero throttle, of course. Oh, I'm sorry about that bounce, but I'll just take it. I've got another battery, but that was just fantastic, you guys. I'm so happy my airplane is back in the air with 2 hot glue sticks. So I suppose we have a tiny bit of added weight but that's okay. This thing can handle it. There you go. Don't let any crash deter you from getting back in the air. 3.75 volts per cell after that flight, which was fairly aggressive, fairly sporty, but a lot of that was touching it back up. So again, 3.75 volts per cell is where we landed. That's a fantastic voltage. I could actually probably lower my alarm to go off a little bit later, but that's not bad. I'm really happy with that. The only thing from this crash is my battery took some damage. It got crunched in on the butt end of it. I should have grabbed it to show you guys. I am sure that it could be used again. I could probably wrap it with electrical tape and continue using it, but I just don't feel super comfortable about that, and I encourage you guys to do the same. Recycle your batteries if you get the chance. That's the best way to dispose of them at like Walmart, like where they do car mechanics and things. A lot of times they'll recycle batteries, so you just ask. Most of the time, hopefully they'll do it for free. There you go. The Commander, after a very brutal crash and literally just hot glue. No toothpicks to reinforce between or any of that. That's fine, you can do that, but hot glue is amazing. The right hot glue. And I strongly encourage you to use the right stuff. I've used the wrong stuff before. It's still hot glue, and it does not hold as well as this stuff holds. It's like foam magic, really. I've been using it for like a decade now, and it continues to hold my planes together extremely well. This is the best stuff, and we'll have it linked in the description box below. Even after that nasty crash, which was obviously my fault, I still say this is my favorite plane of 2022. Even after that crash and the repairs, and I can't remember, was the nose cone, they're always off-centered some, but it just looks extra now, doesn't it? They do that for CG and the torque of the motor, but that one does look a bit crooked now, but to be expected. That was a really bad crash. I'm just grateful, you guys, to be able to get out and share these experiences with you guys. I'm sorry that I didn't like document the repair process. To me, it's just
gluing.
Glob a bunch of glue in there and wedge it back in place. I mean, that's how I repair it. People ask me, like, please do those videos, but that's all it is. I just glop, 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 and hold it for like 5 minutes or whatever, or less, until it's hard enough to not hold it. That is how I repair these. But crash or no crash, and follow up or no follow up, goes in the bin or gets back in the air, I'm grateful that I'm flying with AMA, the Academy of Model Aeronautics. Crashes happen to all of us. And don't let that ever discourage you, but it's smart and safe to fly with insurance. So be sure to pick it up. We'll have it linked in the description box below. Same price as a couple batteries, and you're insured for the whole year. Just follow their rules and guidelines and you can fly really safely. Also, guys, I just want to say a huge thanks to all of you for the words of encouragement after that crash. It's really nice to know I'm not the only one crashing planes. Sometimes we forget, right? But really specifically, I thank the big guy upstairs for giving me the patience to sit down and actually kind of look forward to putting this back together. I know my younger self in my early 20s, I would have really not even tried, probably. I just, lack of ability, lack of confidence, I don't know, but I wouldn't have even given it a shot. So here now today, have the patience and just a little bit of know-how to put this back together. I thank God. I also want to say a massive thanks to our Patreon supporters, because we couldn't do what we do as often as we do it without your amazing support. You really keep those glue sticks coming, and we thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. If you love this plane and you want to see it fly pre-crash, we'll have one of those videos popping up right about now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you there.
Bye!